Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 5 of series 4 of Ghosts, which is called Poached Guests. And as I say with all of the videos I've done on this series of Ghosts, please don't watch this if you haven't seen the episode, because I am going to going into like an in-depth spoilery review of it. And also if you haven't seen previous episodes, then yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you. And a reminder to keep the comment section spoiler free for future episodes, which is just the last episode. We don't want to ruin anything that happened in that episode for people who are watching it week by week. And I admire the people who have got through week by week so far. I gave in straight away. I don't know how you've lasted this long. It's admirable. So this episode, I think, was probably my least favourite out of this series, but that isn't to say it wasn't a good episode. I still did enjoy it, but personally, it just annoyed me. Like, just the main plot line to me was frustrating, which is what it was supposed to be, but I don't like being frustrated when I'm watching Ghosts. I like it to be chill, funny, bit emotional. That's what I like from Ghosts, and this one's a bit it pushed me over that edge a little bit. Oh yeah, so we may as well talk about that main plotline first. So this plotline is the neighbours, Barclay Begchequin, is feuding with Alison, which as a concept I think is very fun, and I did enjoy lots of this plot line. I really did enjoy Alison's attempts at getting back of him. I loved her working with Julian to like come up with dirty tricks they can play and use against him. I thought all of that plot line was really good, and I did really enjoy that. I liked seeing Julian use his like badness, his schemingness for something good, because yeah, Barclay deserved it. He is the worst. And major props to the actor, because he does a great job infuriating me, which is what he's supposed to do. But yeah, so all of that part I really did like, but it was one of those things where just such a horrible character, but a good horrible, because obviously it's meant to be like that. And if anything, it does make you more sympathetic to Alison and Mike's struggles. And you know, all of that, it makes you really root for them even more than you already do. So in that concept, I thought the episode was good and the plotline was good. But yeah, like I felt myself getting like genuinely annoyed. I think as well, this just annoyed me as well for the fact that they've worked so hard throughout like the previous series and this series in particular, worked so hard to maintain this B&B for him to just come and steal their guests. So I say ghosts then, just to steal their guests. And yeah, I just didn't like it. I think it suits his character very well. The other interactions we've had with Barclay is he's always just there for like a little bit, where I feel like he was in it too much for my personal taste. But again, as I said, I really liked the feud was quite funny. You know, they would call building control on them, and then he'd put asbestos in their land. I loved Alison getting really giddy and excited about like getting back at him. I really enjoyed that, how invested she was in like this like sabotage thing she had going on and how to use his tricks against him. I really enjoyed that. I liked seeing Alison, you know, being a bit more like deceiving and stuff like that, and her sneaking out in the dark when she was changing the sign. I thought that was very funny. And her phone call to him when he had building control or whatever it was called on him, that was great. And Julian as well, being great, using judo. I thought that was very funny. It was like, whatever you say when you win judo. That was great. Even though it was my least favourite out of this series, I think that's more a testament of just how strong and how well all the other ones fit my personal sense of humour and what I like in a TV show. Whereas this one, it still was funny. But yeah, the main plot line, just as I said, was a bit too annoying for me. Just on Barclay's side, which I think is meant to be like that. It's meant to be like that. The other main plot line I did really enjoy, and this was the one where they found another ghost, which is crazy. We did, well, at least I did know this was going to happen because they mentioned they were introducing a new ghost. They said it would just be for an episode, but when he did turn up, I was like, my God, they're replacing Mary so quickly. For this to happen straight after they lost Mary, I think it was, yeah, painful. It was really felt like, especially because I did have a break after watching the last episode. I needed a break after watching the last episode, but it did immediately feel like, oh, we've got a new ghost. There you go, that's sorted. We've just replaced that quickly. But yeah, he may appear. I hope he does appear occasionally. He could definitely play a part in like as a minor part in an episode, something to do with that. I think, yeah, he was a really interesting character, and I liked what he brought out in all of the other ghosts as well. Very, very funny. I loved how they all immediately got obsessed with him, and how no one believed that Robin was friends with him and like met him first. And I did like their relationship as well. I love how easily Robin makes friends with people. And yeah, I can just imagine him just going out exploring the lands and just, you know, having fun in nature. I think that's really nice. And the whole episode beginning with the ghosts getting really annoyed at each other and realising that they, you know, spend too much time together and there's like more important things to do for them, immediately latch on to this new ghost. I thought it worked really well as an episode. I loved how they teased the captain's name again. I don't know if they're ever going to reveal what his name was. I really hope they do. But they teased his name again. I think it's interesting that they do keep teasing his name, because it made sense, because a lot of our theories were like, oh, maybe he's got like memory loss, maybe he doesn't remember his name, maybe he's so used to going as the captain. But it's like there's been a few times now where he's been like, oh no, don't refer to me as captain, refer to me as this, and obviously cut off before they say his name. But I think it's interesting that he is introducing his name, like himself with his name, and all the other ghosts know his name, but we don't know it yet, which I think is interesting. But I liked all of that. I liked them creating like this rota system with it. My favourite ghost interaction was definitely Kitty. I thought she was hilarious. I think Kitty has been a very, very strong character this series. I think we've seen a lot more from her, like a lot more like cheekiness and a lot more dynamic to her character. Not that she hasn't been like complex before, but I think she's just, I don't know, come out of her shell a bit more. But yeah, I really like where Kitty's going this series. I loved her getting like really, like getting this morbid obsession with Maddox's injuries. I thought that was very funny. All the sounds it made, the way she described like the inside of it, yeah, horrible stuff. But I really, really liked, yeah, just her obsession with it. And for someone who is like the sweet, innocent, childlike person to be so like into all the gross stuff was very funny for me. I liked Fanny ranting about her neighbours always cheating, or whoever she was with, like the neighbours cheating on the game, and basically using Maddox as someone just to rant to. And I think also just to get that gossip that she doesn't really get to gossip with everybody else with, because they're not really that bothered. But I thought that was great, and having a go at Alison that, yeah, because she was like cutting in line, she hadn't booked a slot. I loved this part of the episode. This is what makes it a strong episode for me personally. And yeah, I liked all of this. I think Maddox has probably had the most traumatic death out of any ghost. I say maybe Mary. Mary's was probably worse, but out of the deaths that we know so far, I think Maddox's is definitely the worst. Again, would I rather be burnt at the stake or eaten by badgers? But yeah, so I think it's interesting how calm he is about it all, even though he does talk about how he doesn't like being in that area because that's where it happened. I like that he is kind of a bit chill about it, and he does seem like a really nice ghost. Like, I wouldn't be against having him pop up even more. I also really liked Robin's little trick at the end where he pretended that Maddox had moved on because they were all really annoying him and arguing about who is his best friend out of them all, immediately thinking that of course they're going to be his best friend. I think again it just emphasises how much time they have spent together and how almost like out of touch of reality they are, that they kind of do ignore or not really have boundaries with other people anymore because they're so used to just like existing without like bothering anybody apart from each other, that they don't really realise how that affects other people. Obviously they've realised that a bit with Alison as well. But yeah, they just have no boundaries or sense of like personal space, I guess. But yeah, immediately immediately badgering him, which that's not the right phrase to use, annoying him so much that he pretends to move on. And you'd think he'd want more than one friend. I mean, who knows, he might have other friends in that field, but you'd think he might want more than one friend. Obviously he's got Robin, meeting Robin every week, which is really sweet. I think that is definitely my favourite plotline this episode. There hasn't been that many plotlines in this episode. There's just one more that I'm going to talk about in a bit. This episode structure reminds me a bit of the one we had, I can't remember the name, hardest word to say, the one where they did the sorry song. Similar to that, where it is all the ghosts together and then Alison and Mike doing their own thing. with Julian as well being the exception that he's with Alison. And yeah, again, I really like this episode dynamic. I think it's nice that we've got all the ghosts just being a bit of like chaos in the middle while everyone else is doing their own thing. And yeah, I think Julian being with Alison and their scheming thing, I did like their side of it very much. As I said, just Barclay just gets on my nerves. Yeah, the other little plot line was Mike getting obsessed with the fact that there are guests that don't know what to do, and they are in this like really rural location. And yeah, I guess there wouldn't be that much to do apart from just walking around nature and like being in nature, which is lovely, but I can understand why there would be that idea of there not being anything much to do there. And I love how he immediately gets obsessed with this, and he's ranting to his friend and the fridge bab. I think this episode builds up really quick, really well to the end. So yeah, him eating the fridge bap, his friend be like, "You're gonna die of a heart attack if you keep eating like that," and then buying that Zorb thing. I loved him getting trapped in it. I thought it was very funny because, especially when it was a secret from Alison, because he knew he probably shouldn't have bought it, and then running about trying to pop it and it just seeming like unpoppable was very funny. And the phone call to his friend, which made him believe it was a heart attack, which then led to them calling an ambulance, which came right at the last point where Barclay thought he was going to get arrested. I thought it was just perfectly constructed, very funny. Yeah, I thought it did work very well as an episode, even though, as I said, it's probably my least favourite. That's not to say it's not a strong episode, like in its structure, in its humour, in its character development. It's just one of those ones where just a bit much for me, but I still did really enjoy it. I thought, yeah, I loved the whole Maddox storyline, and I thought Mike was very funny in this episode. I think as well, this series, I think we've got a lot more Mike development. In like previous series, I felt like he has been more of a side character than a main character, not like necessarily all the time, but I feel like in this series he's definitely taken more like front role, like leading role in it, where it's instead of like Alison, like I just feel like he's got his own singular plot lines a lot more, which I'm really enjoying it. He's such a fantastic character. He's so funny, so I really like that we're getting Mike to, you know, he's kind of shining a bit more this series, which I really like. I really liked, as I said before, I really liked the ending as well, but another part of the ending that I really liked was Alison and Mike both being in those Zorb things, having fun with that. I think it just, again, shows them to be this very young, like, fun couple, and contrasting with all the stress that they've got with the B&B. I really liked that, and I liked them playing, like, the big chess, which I thought was great, especially how excited Robin was when he saw it on the laptop. But yeah, again, I did enjoy this episode. The more I think about it, the more I do realise, like, yeah, it was very good. It was just one of those things where, you know, there's always a character in a show that just gets on your nerves, and that is Barclay for me. And I know he's meant to. I know he's meant to. But yeah, it was just one of those episodes, just, he's in it a bit too much. I can handle him in small doses, but yeah, it was a bit much for me. But yeah, nevertheless, I did enjoy this episode. Ghost is one of those shows where, like, even my least favourite episode of this series is still an amazing episode. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts on this episode was. If you liked this video, then please give it a like, and yeah, comment down below your thoughts, anything you want to say on this episode and how it links to the previous ones, and subscribe if you want to see more videos to do with ghosts. Thank you for watching. Bye!